Walk through the produce section of any grocery store, and you're greeted with bright colors, dew-kissed skins, and signs boasting "Farm Fresh." Keep walking a few aisles over, and you'll find the frozen section, packed tight with sealed bags of vegetables stacked neatly like bricks. One section seems alive, the other feels sterile. But when it comes to safety, shelf life, and even nutrition, appearances can be deceiving. Despite the common belief that fresh is always better, frozen vegetables often beat their fresh counterparts in ways that might surprise even the most health-conscious shopper. Let's start with safety, because at the end of the day, it's not just about what looks good, it's about what won't make you sick. Fresh vegetables travel a long journey before they land in your grocery cart. From the moment they're picked, they're exposed to hands, machinery, transportation, storage, and finally, display. Each of these steps adds a layer of risk for contamination. Bacteria, dirt, pesticides, or pathogens can all hitch a ride along the way. Listeria and E. coli outbreaks linked to fresh lettuce, spinach, and other produce aren't rare news stories. And while you may rinse your vegetables at home, a light rinse isn't always enough to eliminate microscopic threats that burrow into tiny crevices of leafy greens or root vegetables. Now compare that to frozen vegetables. These are usually picked at peak ripeness and flash frozen within hours of harvest. That flash freezing process matters. It not only locks in nutrients, but also halts the spread of most bacteria and pathogens. The extreme cold doesn't necessarily kill all harmful microorganisms, but it does stop them from multiplying. From that moment onward, the vegetable is encased in a sterile environment, a sealed bag, untouched by multiple hands or exposure to open-air environments. That frozen bag of peas or broccoli likely had less human contact than a single head of fresh lettuce at your local grocery store. Some argue that cooking fresh vegetables destroys most bacteria anyway, so what's the big deal? But the issue isn't just about what happens in your kitchen, it's what happened before the vegetables got there. If contamination levels are high enough, especially with delicate produce like spinach or romaine, washing and cooking might not be enough to make it safe. In contrast, most frozen vegetables are blanched before freezing. Blanching is the process of briefly boiling or steaming produce to kill bacteria and deactivate enzymes that cause spoilage. It's a built-in safety step that doesn't exist for fresh vegetables unless you take the time to do it yourself. Another often overlooked point: freshness isn't always what it seems. A zucchini sitting in the fresh produce aisle might have been harvested 10 days ago. It might have traveled across state lines, or even continents. It could have been stored in cold warehouses, transferred between trucks, handled by multiple workers, and displayed under harsh store lights. By the time you buy it, that fresh zucchini may have lost much of its original nutritional value. In contrast, frozen zucchini was likely harvested, chopped, and frozen within hours. Nutrient levels were locked in at the peak moment of ripeness. Studies have confirmed this too. Vitamins like C and B are highly sensitive to air, light, and temperature. Fresh vegetables lose these nutrients quickly, sometimes within just a few days of harvest. Frozen vegetables, on the other hand, maintain their vitamin and antioxidant levels much longer due to the freezing process. It's ironic, but in many cases, the fresh produce has less nutritional value than its frozen counterpart. That's a truth many consumers don't want to hear, because it disrupts the romantic image of eating fresh as the ultimate healthy lifestyle. Then there's the issue of food waste. According to multiple studies, a staggering percentage of fresh vegetables end up in the trash, either in stores, restaurants, or homes, because they spoil quickly. Americans throw out billions of pounds of produce every year. Frozen vegetables, thanks to their longer shelf life, drastically reduce waste. You can portion out what you need, reseal the bag, and store the rest for later. No rush, no guilt, no moldy carrots in the crisper drawer after you forgot about them. Frozen vegetables also make food safety more consistent. Fresh produce depends heavily on season, climate, handling, and geography. A bag of fresh kale from California might be drastically different in safety and nutrition than a bundle grown in a small farm across the country. Frozen vegetables standardize the process. The blanching, the packaging, the freezing, all are regulated to meet food safety protocols. When you buy a frozen bag of green beans, you're getting a product that likely went through a more controlled safety procedure than fresh ones at the farmer's market. Now, that doesn't mean all frozen vegetables are created equal. Some brands pack their products with added sodium, sauces, or preservatives. Those should be avoided if you're aiming for clean eating. The best frozen vegetables are the simple ones, just the vegetable, no added ingredients. These give you the benefits of freshness, safety, and nutrition without any of the downsides. Look for bags labeled "No Additives" or 100% vegetables. These are closest to the farm-to-freezer ideal. Let's not forget accessibility. Not everyone has the privilege of shopping at a fresh farmer's market or cooking vegetables the same day they buy them. For busy parents, night shift workers, college students, or people living in food deserts, frozen vegetables offer a safer, more realistic path to nutrition. They're affordable, available year-round, and can be prepared quickly. The idea that health only comes from fresh produce excludes millions of people who simply don't have that option. And if you're on a budget, the difference is even starker. Fresh vegetables are often priced by weight and change based on the season. Frozen vegetables are typically cheaper per serving and have stable prices year-round. That means you can eat healthy without being at the mercy of price spikes caused by droughts, storms, or transportation delays. In a world where food insecurity is a growing concern, frozen vegetables provide a dependable option that doesn't compromise safety or quality. There's also something to be said for convenience. The path to a safer, healthier diet often starts with consistency. Frozen vegetables make it easier to stick to a meal plan. They're pre-washed, pre-cut, and ready to cook. There's no prep time, no peeling, no chopping, just heat and eat. That's a huge win for people who want to cook more at home, but feel overwhelmed by the labor of prepping fresh produce. And when you're tired after a long day, having healthy options that are also convenient might be the thing that prevents you from ordering takeout. Let's address the common counterpoint: the taste. Some people claim fresh vegetables simply taste better. And in certain cases, like a perfectly ripe tomato or freshly harvested corn, they might be right. But many vegetables hold up beautifully in the freezer. Broccoli, spinach, carrots, peas, cauliflower, these often taste nearly identical when prepared properly. The key is cooking them right. Don't boil them into mush. Steam, roast, or sauté them with seasoning. When cooked with care, frozen vegetables can be just as satisfying and far safer than their fresh cousins. There's also a psychological hurdle to overcome. People associate frozen food with being lazy or inferior. The marketing around fresh produce has done its job. It's created a perception that anything less is unhealthy, processed, or second-rate. But that perception isn't based on science, it's based on image. If you strip away the branding and focus on facts, nutrient retention, contamination risks, shelf life, cost, and consistency, frozen vegetables come out on top in almost every category. Take a step back and ask, where does our bias for fresh really come from? Is it nostalgia, a romantic notion of farm stands and backyard gardens? Or is it just clever advertising that tells us fresh equals pure, while frozen equals convenience food? Either way, it's time to update our thinking. Because in today's fast-paced, unpredictable world, the safest, smartest choice might just be sitting in your freezer. Of course, this isn't an all-or-nothing proposition. There's room for both frozen and fresh vegetables in a balanced diet. Some dishes shine with fresh ingredients. Others do better with frozen. A stir-fry might benefit from crisp bell peppers bought the same day, but a hearty soup, smoothie, or casserole, frozen spinach, carrots, and green beans can do the job just as well, often better. Even chefs and nutritionists are coming around. Many professional kitchens rely on frozen produce for consistency and food safety. Hospitals, schools, and meal delivery services do the same. They understand that quality isn't about whether something was refrigerated instead of frozen. It's about how the food was grown, processed, stored, and ultimately prepared. And when frozen vegetables meet high standards, they're just as capable of delivering flavor, nutrients, and safety. Let's not forget about global impact either. Frozen vegetables help reduce waste throughout the entire supply chain. Because they don't spoil as quickly, there's less loss at farms, during transportation, and in stores. That's good for the environment. It means fewer vegetables are grown just to be tossed out. It also makes it easier to feed more people without relying on constant daily deliveries of perishable produce. And in the age of climate change, where droughts, heat waves, and supply chain issues are becoming the norm, frozen food systems offer a more resilient model. They can absorb disruptions more easily than fresh supply chains. That kind of reliability matters, not just for individuals trying to eat well, but for entire communities and governments trying to keep populations fed. So next time you reach into the freezer for that bag of mixed vegetables, don't feel like you're compromising. You're making a smart, safe, and sensible choice. A choice that's backed by science, supported by nutritionists, and increasingly embraced by everyday cooks who just want good food without the stress. In the war between fresh and frozen, it's time to retire the old assumptions. Fresh isn't always safer. Frozen isn't always second best. Sometimes the coldest choice is the wisest one.